Hey there, everyone, and welcome to my craft room. My name's Julianne Richards, and I'm about to show you some lovely cards using Paper Rose Studios products, a wonderful Aussie-owned company based in South Australia. So hopefully you'll like what you see. Anyway, say up front, I don't have any arrangements with Paper Rose, so if you like what you see and you end up reaching out and buying some of their stuff, I'd really appreciate you letting them know where you saw their products, so they realise that I'm out here working with their stuff. So anyway, but we'll head on. My class for June, really, it's going to be, is using this wonderful Petal and Pansies collection. The designer series paper there, or the patterned paper here, is 12 by 12. If you buy the class, you'll get half a pack of that, which is 12 sheets. I do cut it in half for posting, so you'll get 6 by 12 sheets rather than the full 12 by 12. And you'll also get a packet of our quick card die cuts, some lovely little circles and ephemera and some sentiments there as well. As part of the kit, you also get a sheet of the embellishments, which is actually on the back of that cover sheet there, so you get a sheet of that. Nothing is wasted, which I really love with this patterned paper. But anyway, so this is the class that I'm offering at the moment. 8 cards. You can purchase the card bases if you want, or you can just purchase the paper and the die cuts and use your own card bases. I have developed 3 fun folds as part of the class. This cute little guy here, sort of a triangle card there. This one here, which is my favourite, so like a fold back card. And the third one is a vertical bookbind, that one there. So there's 3 fun folds as part of that, so you get instructions and a video how to do those. And the rest are just gorgeous single fold cards. Using the papers, using the die cuts, and you have lots and lots left. So you can purchase just the paper and the die cuts, as I say. You can add the layered sentiments, which is what I've used on this one. So there's they have layered sentiments as a separate pack these days you can purchase for this particular design. So reach out if you'd like to purchase those as well. I am going to use them in today's cards. Today's cards, I am using leftovers from what I would send you as part of a kit. So if you buy the kit, you'll be able to make these cards as the leftovers. I've got a couple of added things in there. I've used an old Stampin' Up! Embossing folder and some new Stampin' Up! Colours as well. You've got to forgive me, I'm actually sitting on a really low chair. I feel like some sort of child. My desk is right up past my chest. But anyway, I'll swap over to the other chair if it seems like I'm moving down here, because I'm sort of like at the kids' table today. Anyway, so this is a slight variation on the standard fractured background technique. I picked it up, I think it was from Tammy White, her website. It's much easier. I found it was much easier. With the standard fractured card technique, you lay out these fractures, which I suppose is what they are, these strips here around your central focal point, and then you cut 4 pieces of patterned paper to fit those gaps. Now, I find that quite difficult with all the lining up and the cutting and trimming. So this does involve some trimming, but you're actually only trimming 2 parts. You're starting with a full sheet of your main pattern to start with. So I'll show you as I go. This one was the first one I did. As you can see, again, I've used those layered sentiments there. So as I say, if the ladies want to purchase those as part of their class, they can as well. And so I've used those in there. I fussy cut a little flower from the designer series paper, and I've got that one. Now that's just basically based on exactly what I found on Facebook with the fractures like that. It's a lovely card, but it just left me a wee bit flat. So I thought I'd spruce it up a bit. Will give it the Julianne touch, and I've added a few more elements here. You can see I popped it through an embossing folder. I changed up that fracture so that it actually so I actually used a pattern paper to make the fracture. And this one appeals to me a little bit more than that one. So I added some bling and everything as well. So we're going to make this one today, and I've also set up this on some dimensionals as well. So it gives it a little bit more depth, I think, is also. So I'll make this one today and I'll show you how to make it. As I say, I'm just using leftovers from the pack. If you buy the petals and pansies kit from me. Okay, so these are my leftovers here. Let's bring them in. Sorry, I've got a message. I usually have to check my messages midstream because I never know. It could be Mum and she might want something. Yep, it's her. Oh, no, she's just checking it. I'm okay. I can check that later. Okay, so this is what I've got left of my pack here. Lots and lots left over. Now, when you buy the Paper Rose 12 by 12, it's actually a bit longer than 12 inches because you get this sort of strip on the end there. I think it's fairly standard with scrapbook paper and stuff like that. You get that extra strip, and it's a beautiful strip that matches the colours of the paper that you're using. So for my fracture, rather than cutting those off and throwing them away, I'm going to use these dark green strips to form the fracture for my background technique. So I'm just going to pop that to the side, grab my trimmer. Now the fracture was, in the original one I saw, was 1/2 inch, but I found that quite clumsy, so I wanted it a little bit more delicate. So I brought it back down 1/2 inch, 1.3 centimetres. I brought it back down to, I think, 3/8 of an inch. So just that little 1/8 of an inch, that little 3 mil, I think made it a lot more delicate. Now the thing is with this, I'm going to use more than 12 inches on the card. I know that because from what I did before. So I'm going to cut it off another piece as well. So if you use cardstock, you will be fine. You'll just use as much cardstock as you need. But with this one, I know I'm going to use the 12 inches plus a bit more. Okay, I can see some ladies jumping on. There's Evelyn there and Glenda, my Jan and Jenny. Hello all, and Kay and Susan. Hello, guys. Okay, so thank you to Susan and Elizabeth and Sally who came to my house on Sunday and helped me finish the last cards for donating to the seniors. It was a lovely afternoon. It was just the medicine I needed, guys. So thank you for coming. So I've got my 2 strips here for my fracture. Now, if you haven't got a designer series paper you'd like to use, you can just use plain cardstock, and that's for that sort of flatter effect. But as I say, I really like this tone-on-tone cardstock, so I'm going to use that. So what you need to do to start with, and I haven't cut any of this, I'm going to cut it with you. You need your base pattern paper, so the one that you're going to layer the rest up on. So in this case, it's these cute little pansies, and I had a lot of that left, which was really nice because it was my favourite out of the whole paper. So you're going to cut this down, and I'll put the measurements at the end in the description, so don't panic too much about it. But I'm making it 4 inches by 5 3/4. Okay, so that's that piece there. So 4 inches by 5 3/4. There we are. And I also need, I don't know if I kept out some white. Yes, I did. I also need a square of white cardstock for the centre of our card. So I think I liked it at 2 1/4 square. I'm going to make this one 2 1/4 square, hopefully. I've left it. Where are you? Come back here. Yep, 2 1/4 square. So that's the square for my focal point, for the focal point of our card. Now, because I'm going to put this through an embossing folder and I don't want to put the white focal point through the embossing folder, I am going down like a little kid, aren't I? Further and further and further. I might swap to the other chair. It's just really uncomfortable. Anyway, so bear with me if I disappear down the bottom. I haven't got my chat on. Apologies, ladies. I'm not seeing any chats come through. Oh, and the ladies on YouTube, I see you now, Sharon and Deb. Good morning, ladies. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pop this square sort of as a triangle, sort of slightly higher than halfway, but to just keep it on while I do work around it, I'm just going to pop a little bit of snail in the centre just to hold it in place while I pop those fractions in. And once I've got the paper all sorted and attached, I'll move it away so I can pop it through the embossing folder. So as I say, slightly higher than halfway. There we are, just like that. It's only slightly, barely distinguishable. Then I'm bringing in my 3/8 inch strips. 3/8 of an inch is pretty much a centimetre, isn't it? And we're going to lie these along around the edge of our triangle, our diamond, sorry, and form the fracture. So I'm going to, what am I going to use? I might use double-sided tape if I've left it out. Where are you? Because I'm going to be putting it through an embossing folder, I'm not going to use glue on this one at the moment anyway, because as we know, if the glue is wet and I pop it through my embossing folder, I'm going to cause a big glue squirty sort of sandwich happen. I'm going to pop just double-sided tape on the full length of that 12. As I say, I do know that I'm going to use the full 12 inches of this for the first bit. Or at least I did last time. I hope I'm not making a fool of myself. Okay, so first of all, lining the square edge of that up with a square edge of our diamond, and you just lay it along and take it right to the edge, okay? There. And then I'll grab my scissors. Now I'm going to cut that square and I'll trim off in line with the card later, but I want it square. Foam square on the end of that. I want it square so I can continue the laying down. So that's a nice square edge there. So again, starting here where that one end, where that edge is of our diamond, take it all the way. You've probably made these cards. It's not a new design by any stretch. I think I've made them as well, but I've just oomphed this one a little bit. Again, cutting it off. And we'll take the next one. So we'll line that up with the piece we've just put. That lines up with the edge of our diamond, runs along the side. And that's as far as I'm going to get with that piece. I'm going to need a little piece of this second one. Lay that straight on. Okay, so we've used a whole piece of our designer series paper, of our patterned paper, the focal one. If you wanted to do it the other way around, you could, of course, use the second piece as the backing if you wanted to save your special lovely patterns there. Okay, so I'm going to leave the pansies showing in this face and that face, and I'm going to have to cover in those two faces with our second piece of designer series paper, patterned paper. Now these are the leftovers that I had from another card that I did, and I'm going to use this side of it for our second pattern. So all you do, if you've got a square edge and it's a big enough scrap, you can just lay that in there and glue it down or whatever. So I'm going to use again double-sided tape so I don't have a big messy mess when I pop it through the embossing folder. Snail would work too, whatever you've got to hand. Or you could just use your glue and just give it plenty of time to dry in between. Okay, so I'll bring that in. It's that way. Just using the corner. And this is a good way of using those pesky, weirdly shaped scraps that you sometimes get when you're making cards. Like this one's got a weird sort of corner there. I'll lay that in there. I'm going to trim off. Try and trim that off, which would be this way. Trim it off that way, just so I'm not got too much overhang. And I'm wondering if I can use that there. Oh, yes, I can. So that square corner fits perfectly in the opposite end. So that's really good. I've managed to use that little scrap just completely. And let's face it, these days, everything is so expensive. I was talking to my ladies that came to help with the cards at the weekend, and a lot of them are concentrating on using their stash rather than trying to buy new stuff. And I am trying to not buy anything too new myself. So let's see how we go until things turn around, which I'm not sure how long that will be. Now that we're living off our super, you sort of are really conscious of every penny you spend. When you know that the money you've got in the bank is the last money that you'll probably ever have. That's a bit scary when you say it out loud, isn't it? When your super becomes the money that you've got. And that's it. It's got to work for you. Okay, so there is our pieces there. I'm going to take that out because we know we don't want to pop that through the embossing folder. I'm going to grab my trimmer and I'm going to trim off those excesses there. Try and line that up as well as I can and trim them. Then I'm going to grab one of my favourite retired Stampin' Up! Embossing folders, which is really nice to be able to use the old ones without worrying too much. I can't sell it to you because that was always the worry, that what they say, you know, don't show anything you can't sell. But I don't mind anymore because I'm not trying to sell it to you. Okay, so there we are. So I've trimmed that off. I'm going to grab the embossing folder and hopefully I kept it out. Let's have a look. Where did you put it? Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Not there. Not there. Where did I put it? Oh, Julianne, you are a muffer. It's not there. Hang on. There it is. Popped it where it was supposed to be, into a shelf. That's a silly thing to do. Okay, so this is a really old Stampin' Up!, as I say, really old Sizzix Stampin' Up! One, so you can tell how old it is, just with some leaves there, leaves and branches. I thought it was nice. It sort of carries on the theme of our carries on our theme of a floral sort of pattern, but it's not too busy. I know sometimes when you pop things through an embossing folder, you lose the paper or the stamps or whatever you're using underneath, you lose it to the pattern of the embossing folder, and I didn't want that in this case. But it is a really old, thick embossing folder, and I think I have to pop it through with a slightly different sandwich. So don't worry too much if you find that you need to fiddle with the sandwich when you're putting things through embossing folders, because different companies, their embossing folders are thinner or thicker or whatever. So sometimes you have to use a different sandwich. Sometimes you have to use less. Sometimes you lose more. Sometimes you have to buff it with a little bit of a extra cardstock or something like that. It's just different companies and different designs. That's all it is. So that I've popped that through. You can see there you've got your little leaves now. Totally by accident, I put it through the right way up. I didn't even think. But anyway, I put it thankfully the right way up, and I think that just adds a little bit of interest to our background. Okay, so that, and here I am saying I'm trying to use my stash, and I am, trust me, I really am. I did buy the new Stampin' Up! In Colours in my last order from my lovely friend Deb. I bought that in an order, and I think it goes really nicely with the greens. Just coincidentally, goes really nicely with the greens in the paper rose. Okay, so I'm going to use that for my card base, and it's just going to have a little, this is Peaceful. Deb will have to remind me what the colour is. I can't even get the colours right now. I think it's Peaceful Pine. Deb, am I right? I think it is. I only bought a few of the in colours. It was quite weird. As a demonstrator, I would always make sure I had all the in colours and all the blends and all the matching designer series paper, and what else? The markers. I don't have markers anymore, but yeah, it was quite weird to just restrict myself to a couple of colours and not get all the other stuff as well. So here we go. So that's our Peaceful Pine. I do like that one. just give that. I'm going to put a white panel inside, of course, but I'll do that off camera. You all know what happens the next bit there. So I'll pop that there. See, that's a lovely colour. It goes with it as well. I'm actually thinking I maybe need to make my background a little bit smaller so I see a bit more of that background. Maybe I do, but I don't want to lose any of my beautiful pansies, so I'm going to leave that. Just leave it as is. So I can use glue now because I'm not worried about it squishing out the sides. So what's Deb saying? I thought I use paper rose a lot. Yeah, Donna, it's I've grown to love it. It's a very different setup to how I was as a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I'm going to have to stop harking on that. I've been out for a few months now. But I love the fact that it's mostly made in Australia, so that's great. They do get a few things from Europe and China, of course, but that's how manufacturing works these days. Okay, there we are. So that's our fractured background on its little card base there. So let's concentrate on the focal point. Even that's quite pretty though, isn't it? We're going to bring this in. This is our little diamond of white that we took out before. Looking at it there, maybe I should have brought that down to 2 inches rather than 2 1/4, but we'll survive. Okay, so I'm going to use these layered sentiments. This is the Petals and Pansies layered sentiments. The ladies can purchase this as part of the class if you want to add the extra $13.95. You can buy that to add to your cards. But I'm going to use it on this one. Try and find something that matches, something I can use. Hello Spring. Well, it's not spring here at the moment. I'm not going to use that one. Bloom, no. Something maybe that I can use for a Thinking of You. There you go. That might be a wee bit big. What else have we got? I mean, just a happy birthday. I think I've already used the happy birthday. Something I'm going to use, something I can use. And that's going to match my green to my wife. I don't have a wife. Grateful, thankful, thanks for Mom. I think I'm going to have to go Thinking of You, and then I can pop it in with the next cards for the seniors. If you live in Southern Tassie and you've got some extra Thinking of You cards that you'd like to donate to local Meals on Wheels clients, please reach out. So I am the collection point for Southern Tassie. So if you have some in your stash and you think, oh, I've got so many cards, and they are Thinking of You themed or hello, or obviously Thinking of You can be worded in different ways. So what you get with these layered sentiments is you get a pretty background, which is sort of cut sort of around the edge of the sentiment, and then the sentiment fits like perfectly in the middle there. It's been sort of nice not doing so much stamping, and I know that a couple of my ladies who have problems with their hands are really enjoying not having to get the stamps and the dies out. It's just a bit easier when you've got arthritis or whatever happening to just be able to just use the die cuts. So if that's you, think about it. You don't have to give your card making away. And there's lots of designs you can use without having to get the stamps out, the stamps and ink. So I'm quite enjoying not making so much mess as I usually do with the ink. Yeah, so I'm popping that on some foam squares. Ooh. Just to give it up and away from its little background there. Yeah, I did look at Uniquely Creative, Donna. Yes, I did. I do like their stuff. Their scrapbooking stuff is gorgeous. I did find, and I probably will purchase some of their other things, I did find that their cards were a little bit fussy for me. Not that this is quite fussy card I'm doing here, but you know what I mean. There was a few too many layers and everything, and I'm I'm a sort of more of a simple card maker than a fussy one. I think that's probably fair to say, but that's very beautiful. And again, Australian made, which is a bonus. Okay, so I'm going to pop that thinking of you on my little diamond. And I might cut, you just bear with me while I know it's a pain doing fussy cutting live, but if you're watching the replay, just fast forward a wee bit. I'm going to fussy cut myself a little bunch of pansies to pop around the back here. I might leave that little leaf in there as well. And when I say fussy cutting, it's not going to be really very good fussy cutting. I'm just going to cut around the outside. Not very fussy cutting, I mean. Just a little bunch there that I can pop in and behind. I have already used the little flowers from the die cuts that came with the kit, or that come with the kit. I use them on the cards, so I can always do a little bit of cutting. Now, how far am I going to go there? One there, take that around. Made quite a big cut, haven't I? Now I'm going to show you a second card, so hang around if you want to see the second card. I showed in my group, I showed the cards that the ladies and I had made for showed the cards that the ladies and I had made for the seniors, and someone asked how I'd done the one with the sponging, and I thought, well, I'll do that on my video and you can see how I made it. So I'm going to do a sponged embossed card for you next. I've got that here. So with a really lovely daisy embossing folder that again is a Stampin' Up one. Okay, so I'm putting that little central diamond onto some dimensionals just to give it a bit of oomph. I'm going to have my thinking of you there, and I think I've cut this a bit too big. Put that there behind. Yeah, maybe a bit too much, or there straight behind like that. Yeah, or maybe like it like that, I think. Let's make sure it's the right way up. What do you reckon? Just a little bit of the pansies showing up behind there like that. Yeah, I think that works. There we are. That works quite well, I think. We'll keep it like that. Okay, so I will just glue that on. Be the right way up that way. Yeah. And the glue on the back of this one. There we are, like that. That's nice, I like that. Good, that's worked out well. There we are. What do you reckon? And I'll give this one a little bit of bling. I've just got some plain rhinestones there, pop them around just to give it a little bit of a lift. I haven't been using very much bling lately because all the die cuts have these gorgeous sort of shimmer to them. But I will with this one. There we are. Okay, so there we are. We have that fractured technique card with a fractured background with the offcuts from the petals and pansies paper. And I've popped it through that embossing folder and set everything up a little bit for a bit of interest. So there we are. So that's my version of that one. There we go. And there's the original one, and there's the sort of plain one that I did first of all. So there you are. Okay, so that is our fractured background technique. So now we're going to do this sponged one. And I haven't got any here to show you, so you'll just have to follow along with me and try and work out where we're going. But if you're a member of my Facebook group, my Australasian Facebook group, you can check the pictures there, but you'll see it's not a very difficult card. You'll see pretty soon where we're headed. But as I say, people saw it online and asked how I'd done it, so I will show you. So normal size card base, although this one looks like it's a little bit uneven. I'll just trim it off a bit, even up the two edges of it. There we are. Don't know why that happens. Halfway never is quite halfway, I don't think. Okay, so that's our card base. And I've got a layer of, these are all white, a layer of white that's 1/4 of an inch smaller. That's going to sit on there like that. Then I've got another piece, and I'll pop the measurements up as well. Please don't worry too much. That's going to be our backing piece. And this smaller piece here is what we're going to actually sponge on. So yeah, I'll put the measurements on, but anyway, and you'll see what things are going. So I'm going to keep this smaller one out first. Pop everything else aside. I don't need my paper rose stuff now. And I've got 4 colours of pink here. I've got an orange, a pink, a purple, and a green. Okay, so these are our 4 colours we're going to use. And I've got my appropriately coloured blending brushes as well. So I'm going to have to I'm going to get ink everywhere if I'm not a bit careful. I'll grab a piece of scrap card and pop that underneath. Okay, so I'm moving down the thing, sorry. We'll have to get the bigger chair back out, I think. I feel like a toddler. It's just with the big chair, my my legs wobble like I'm some sort of small creature, some child eating a lollipop on a bench. My legs sort of dangle. So I'm starting with the orange and just doing not a huge amount of it, just darker at the top and then let it sort of blend lighter as it goes down. And it really is only probably less than an inch of the full colour. Okay, so that's for the first one. Then we'll go pink. That's what my ladies were saying at the weekend. It's nice now we can just call it pink rather than having to remember what it's called. Pink. This is strawberry slush, if you did want to know. I'm going to go next with the strawberry slush. Try and blend it a little bit with the orange. It doesn't matter too much. It's still layering down. And the purple, Highland Heather. Old habits. Okay, and that's a little bit. It's quite funny, actually. The camera distorts things. When I look at that, the transition is quite smooth, but the camera must pick up the transaction line a little bit stronger because it looks quite sort of strippy in the camera when I look at my camera on the side. So it's funny what it does. It picks up different tones, I think. And then I've got my green, which is Coastal Cabana. I'll bring that up from the bottom. Now, the only tricky thing here, I suppose, is trying to transition these ones when you're starting them mid-paper. If you do it, you'll see what I mean. So if you're coming in from the top or the bottom, you can sort of do your bit, start off the page and work in. Whereas if you're doing the pink and the purple, you're sort of starting in the paper. In the centre of the paper, it's a bit difficult. I'm not a great sponger by any measure. I'm just going to bring in the orange again. Which one was my orange one? There you are. Smooth that off a bit there. It's a bit liney. There we are, that's better. Okay, so I've got my 4 colours there transitioning from my orange through to my green. I'll bring back in that larger layer that we've got. Be careful with my fingers. We're going to pop that smack bang in the middle of that card. We're going to separate them eventually, but we're going to pop them through the embossing folder together. So to keep it in place again, like we did with the first card, I'm just going to pop a tiny bit of snail on the back. Pop it sort of central and straightish. Okay. Then I'll bring back the embossing folder and, or not back, I'll bring out back the machine. I'm going to use the Daisy embossing folder. This is one of my favourites I bought before I resigned. Make sure I put it the right way up, which is that way. Pop those both through together. Okay, so there you are. You have the sort of continuous embossing pattern there. So continuous embossing pattern there. So it's sort of, it's all the one. Just twist that slightly and bring that off. Okay, here we are. So this one, we're going to back that on our separate sheet there, our little layer. And again, don't worry too much about the measurements. I'll pop them in the description for both cards. Now, if you do see any of these Stampin' Up products that you want to purchase, please reach out. I do have my friendly Stampin' Up demonstrator that I can refer you to, Deb, who used to be, when I was my team, one of my team members when I was a demonstrator. But yes, happy for you to refer your business to her. Okay, so we've got some dimensionals on the back of this one, foam squares. Shouldn't use too many, I'm trying to save them. Now, we bring this one back in and we try to overlap it as closely as we can to where it was. So make the pattern continuous. It's sort of like if you've ever done a triple, what are they called? Triple stamp card, where you actually stamp them together and then reassemble them with the layers. It was one of the first cards I ever did as a video, was a triple stamp card. But yeah, so yeah, it's a bit like that, but instead of stamping and layering, we're actually embossing and laying. So there's our thing there. Bring in our card base. Put that on there. Just using a bit more glue than I normally would because of being an embossed layer. I know it's going to have to stick in all places. Where are you? You've stuck in places I didn't want you to stick. Okay. And I've done a Susan. I've put it upside down. The other ones have got the orange at the top and the green at the bottom. Susan popped hers the other way. And I've done the same now. Okay, there we are. So I'm going to use just a thinking of you sentiment because I'll be able to donate this one as well. So just bear with me, I'll find a sentiment. There we go. I have these sheets of sentiments again from Paper Rose and make it just so much easier. I think I want a black one rather than a white one. So I've only got one sheet of the black left. I might use that. There's a thinking of you there, or just for you. That would work as well with the theme of our donating this month. I might go just for you, or just because. I reckon just because. There we go. Just trim that down. I might bring in, see if I can, with my banner punch, whether it fits the big one. Yes, it does. Lovely. It saves me bannering it. Beautiful. So I'll pop that in there. So it's a little bit of glue on one end and a dimensional on the other. Just so it sits properly on the layers. There we are. And I'll use the same bling. Okay, so there we are. So that's that sort of what we're calling it, a blended, embossed, layered technique. Really nice, and it goes so nice with that detailed embossing folder as well. So, but try it with what embossing folders you may have at home. It might work well for those as well. So there you are, and mix your colours up. Do whatever you want. So okay, so there's our 2 cards for today. The embossing technique there, and our little fractured background technique as well. So hopefully you like those. If you live in Australia, I think New Zealand as well, I could probably send cards to send kits to New Zealand. I think because that's not there's no restrictions on market with the Paper Rose stuff. So if you are interested in purchasing the kit in Australia or New Zealand, of course I'd have to do some conversions for the New Zealand dollar, but I definitely think we could arrange something. So anyway, there you go. Our card class. These ones here are using the leftovers from the class. So it's 8 cards plus as much as your imagination can take you with the plenty of leftovers that you will get. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your week. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you all again next time.